Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Mr. Longo, and this video is going to cover writing equations of trig graphs when they're given to you. Now, a cool thing about writing the equation of a trig graph is there's actually an infinite amount of correct answers. So you actually get to pick where you want to start and if you want it to be sine or cosine. So we're actually going to write the equation of sine and cosine for this wave, just so you can see what's happening. Remember, we have y is equal to a, which is our amplitude, and then the trig function that we choose, times b, and then in parentheses x minus c, c is our horizontal shift, plus d. So there's a couple of things that will not change regardless of what you choose for the function, so sine or cosine. Here's one of them. We see that this thing's been shifted vertically by 1. So no matter what we pick, this is going to be up 1. As you can see, our amplitude is 2 above and 2 below. So our amplitude is going to be 2. The only thing you have to do is decide where we're starting to decide if it's going to be positive or negative. Our b value. So remember, 2 pi divided by b is going to give us the period. So if we want to find the b value, we just switch those two. So b is equal to 2 pi divided by the given period. So in this graph, the period is 4 pi. So 2 pi divided by 4 pi is going to give us a b value of 1/2. So our 1/2 is not going to change either. So the only thing that we're going to have changing here is where are we starting in terms of horizontal shifts? Are we picking sine or cosine? And is it going to be positive or negative? So we're going to find one of each. So let's do the cosine first. Why? Because there's no horizontal shift. Look, cosine starts at the top or bottom. So since cosine is starting at the top, this is a positive cosine graph. And it has no horizontal shift. So y is equal to a positive 2. This is a cosine, 1/2, and then x in parentheses, plus 1. We had no horizontal shift. Okay, so that's really easy to pick that guy right there. So now let's pick a sine graph. So remember, sine starts at the node line. So we can pick this guy for a sine, but this would be a negative sign. This guy right here would be a positive sign. This guy right here would be a negative sign. This guy would be a positive sign. Why? Because sine starts at the node and goes up if it's positive, down if it's negative. So it doesn't matter. I'm just going to pick this guy right here because I have no reason. I'm just picking him. So the only thing that's changing now is it's a negative sign. So it's still y is equal to a negative 2 sine of 1/2. And now we shifted. We shifted pi to the right to start this guy off. So if we're starting pi to the right, that would be x minus pi, because it's opposite of what you think. And it's still plus 1. And we're done. That's it. It's all you have to do. So we could have picked this guy over here and did a negative sign and did x plus 3 pi. We could have done this guy for a positive sign, x plus pi. We could have started with this guy down here and did a negative cosine and did an x minus 2 pi. So after you figure out the amplitude, your vertical shift, and your b value, you just pick a point, and then that will determine if it's positive or negative, sine or cosine, and what your horizontal shift is. So you get to try this guy. Write a sine or a cosine wave. Actually, write both. Find both. Press the pause button, find both, and then see if you got it correct. Okay, so a couple of things that do not change. We have a vertical shift of 1 down and an amplitude of 1. So for both of them, we're going to have y is equal to 1. You don't really have to write that. Then, of course, our trig function. And we're going to end with a minus 1 because it's going to be shifted down. And, of course, we'll have parentheses. And then we need to find our b value. So b is equal to 2 pi divided by our period of pi over 2, which means we're going to end up with 4. Because remember, that's like multiplying by the reciprocal, and that'll give us 4. So b is equal to 4. And now we just have to start picking our starting location. So if we were to start on the y-axis where there's no horizontal shift to make it easy, that's a negative sign because it's starting at the node and going down. So we have y is equal to a negative sign. You can write the 1 if you want for the amplitude, but it's not necessary. Our b value of 4, no horizontal shift, and a vertical shift of 1 down. And we're done. Now to pick cosine, you just have to pick a new starting point. So I'm just going to go 1 point to the right. We're starting at the bottom, so that's a negative cosine. It's pi over 8 to the right, so there's a few things that change. So we have y is equal to a negative cosine of 4, and the only thing that's going to change for the horizontal shift is we're to the right pi over 8, so that's x minus pi over 8, and of course minus 1. There's a couple of other, for cosine you could have picked this guy instead. You could have done y is equal to a positive cosine of 4, but then you would have gone left, so plus pi over 8, and of course minus 1. So there's a whole bunch of different ones you could have picked. It's really up to you. So anyway, this is Mr. Longo, and I am out. See you bye.